Hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to show you a couple different ways do it yourself on how you can fix your furnace. It's that time of year, and a lot of people have been having trouble with their furnaces due for maintenance, and honestly, it's just sometimes not in the budget. First thing, you want to always check your thermostat. Most thermostats do run off batteries. In this case, there was a screw in the bottom, and then it actually just lifts off. And it's always good to change your batteries because it can mess with the thermostat. And last year I had mine, actually it wouldn't work at all, and then I put new batteries in, and bam, issue fixed. So that's the first thing. The second thing you want to do is to restart your furnace, which I'll show you here in a second. But before you do that, you actually want to turn your thermostat all the way down. Okay, now I'm down here in my basement. My furnace isn't quite too old. You can tell it's pretty dirty. A couple things you want to do if your furnace is not working or it's not starting up as it should, change your air filter to start off. You can see mine is dirty as all hell. And also, if you have ventilation, the vents and stuff in your house, you want to make sure that there's no like clothes on them or hampers, or that you've moved anything in them. And I'm just going to show you a couple different things to check. You can see right here, I pulled off the doors already. They just lift off. Now before you take off the doors, you kind of want to go ahead and look for a power switch. You see mine's right here. It's an on-off. And then if you look here, here is where your gas is. And a lot of these are the same, like I said. So if you've looked at yours, it's probably very similar. And you see I have it switched to off. It just turns down and switches to on. So that's your gas line, okay? And before you start working on anything, you probably want to turn this off. Now, if your fans aren't kicking on at all, most furnaces have this little safety switch right here where if the cover's not on it, or just off it a little bit, let me show you what I mean here. And I actually can't, it's not going to turn on right now because what I've done is I pulled out the igniter because I was getting gas and I could smell gas, but there was no flames, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But it could be an easy fix. You can see I have some tape here. If that door is lifted even a little bit, it will automatically shut off your furnace. So that's the first thing you can check, is that the door's holding that closed completely. And moving on, before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and shut this power back off and also just turn the gas off. To reset it, what you're going to do is basically do what I just did, turn that off, turn the gas off. And you're going to wait about 5 minutes for all the gas and stuff to clear out. And you're going to go ahead and turn this back on and turn that back on, and go ahead and close the panel door. Right now, when I hold this down, it's not starting because I pulled out the igniter, which I was talking about. I'm sorry if my vocabulary isn't right on. Now, the first thing I can tell you firsthand is that these are very brittle. And I actually as I was walking down the stairs, I dropped the older one. But you can see it kind of fits like this. Try to kind of put it back together. It's very, very brittle. And in this case, I had to get a new one because mine wasn't working. That's basically what it looks like here. It was about $40. And if they're the same kind of plug, I'm going to pull out the new one. If it's the same kind of plug, this is off like a electric dryer. And you can see, I'll get it out of the package here in a second. And that basically goes, let me get you, zoom out here. That's going to go right there. Okay, so I went ahead and got the new one out. This is what your igniter is going to be, because a lot of them aren't pilot lights anymore. You don't really light by hand, and I don't suggest really lighting them by hand either. Now just be very, very careful, because this part right here is very, very sensitive. As you can see, my old one broke, and a dead giveaway is right there. You see that white? You can see that white right there. That's definitely an indicator that your igniter is out. So these are very brittle. Like I said, this one came, I just got from the parts store. It's about $35–40. And they have the same plugs. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put that right there. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to have to remove the mount, that metal mount bracket. And if you have a nut driver or a small socket set, that would work good. In this case, I'm just using some pliers. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that off and put it back in real quick. Well, I'll be damned. I just broke the new one, putting the new one on there. These things are super sensitive. What a pain in the ass. Be right back. Alright guys, I went back and now I'm on my second igniter here. So I cannot express to you how fragile these are. When you go to put it back in, I'm going to be putting it right there on that hole. And that part right there is going to slide in there, and this part is going to sit behind it all. And I'm going to put the camera down just because I do not want to break it again. I'm only at about $70. To call a repairman would probably cost more than that. So I'm going to set this down and install it real quick, and then I'll show you what to do from there. Okay, so you can see here now, that was the nut I just put in there. And you can see the igniter now, the bottom part, the ceramic part is just kind of sitting there. And I'll go ahead and plug that back in. Okay, so I got the connectors back in there. Now there's another thing here. This is an electric, basically it starts the flame on itself, so there's no like pilot light. And in this case, I'm not exactly sure what they're called. They're like a flame type sensor, but if you can see it right there, that is the flame sensor. And there's also like a gas version of that, which is a thermocouple. Well, those can get corroded, and I'm just going to pull this out real quick. And it comes in handy to have a nut driver, or like I said, a pair of pliers. This part isn't as breakable right here, but you see it's just one screw, and then this slides out. And you can take a look at it. Now this is for instance, say if your heat turns on and then it turns off, and you can tell the heat is working, but this is basically like a thermometer, so if it's reading wrong, it might keep shutting your furnace off. So what you can do is just get some real fine sandpaper and go ahead and clean this off. And if you have a thermocouple, this might be like a copper. It's going to have copper coming to it. In this case, it's electrical. So this sensor could be the problem as well. So that's one more thing you can check out. And that is located. You can see I have the burners there where the gas come out of, and you just look up right there to the left, and you can see it fits right here in this hole. And this is basically what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and put that back in there. Okay, I went ahead and put that sensor, just screwed it back in there. And as you can see, when we look down here, I have took off this plate right here. It sits like this, and usually it's 1 or 2 screws. And I just simply remove that, and as you can see, when you look down here, you'll see an LED light. Now, when worst comes to worst, and you've tried to restart your furnace, and you've checked out your thermocouple, and you've also, if you're not getting flame, replaced your igniter here, you can come down here and you can start your furnace with this panel off. You just want to make sure that nothing can get sucked into your bigger fan, and that, you know, you just be safe about it. And basically this LED will light up a code. It might be 1 blink, 2 blinks, 3 blinks, 4 blinks, 5 blinks, and it can tell you a better idea of what is actually going bad. And I'll try to post a link down in the bottom of this video to show you what those codes mean. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and run through this furnace now. This thing should be fixed. I'm really crossing my fingers. So it's been longer than 5 minutes, so this is basically doing a reset. What I'm going to do first is turn on my gas, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip on that starting switch. And as long as we're talking about that, right now I want to show you there is a fuse. These don't usually blow, but if they do, See, for instance, mine's glass. Well, I pulled that sucker out the other day, and I got electrocuted like all hell. So make sure that you're just touching the glass, because that thing will shock you. So that's the only fuse. That, though, like I said, if your furnace is working and turning on, that's not going to be the problem anyway. And the other thing you might want to check down here, there's also a fuse. You can see it's that purple one right there, and that fuse is good. But if those fuses are popped, that's probably going to be your problem. And as long as we're down here, these are capacitors. Usually you might not want to mess with these, but these capacitors, you can tell if they're blown because the tops will explode on them. You can see there's kind of like a cross K. Well, those tops will explode outwards, and they'll kind of have a bubble on them. So that could be a problem too. In this case, mine are fine. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start this up, and let's see if this took care of the problem. And I'm just going to use the safety lever. Like I said, this is the door panel, so I'm just going to say that I'm closing it. And you see the bottom will kick on, and it sucked that air filter right to it. So it's good to have those in place too. So that's probably not a smart idea that I have it like that. And I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to help you guys troubleshoot your furnace the best that I know how, and just save you guys some money. And we'll see if it's going to start up here. This fan at the bottom will start first, then this little one should kick on, and that's where the gas should be released, and then the starter should automatically start that down there. And as you can see, the upper fan started. And as you can see, my new thermostat heating element is working. It was not even glowing before. And there you can see takeoff. Woohoo! Sweet. Well, all around, I saved myself probably $150 or so. Everything's seemed to be working. Like I said before, if your furnace is getting this far and then shutting off, check that heating element located right down there, which I pulled off, that has the stick. So if this video helped you out, guys, give it a thumbs up. If you have any other questions that I can think of or try to help you with, I can answer it. This was a Carrier Crusader furnace, but like I said, a lot of the setups are almost identical, and some are even interchangeable. So that's it. Thanks for watching.